At a time when global oil giants have made enormous profits in the backdrop of high oil prices, US President Joe Biden has criticised oil companies. Biden even threatened a windfall tax on companies who are earning big profits while Americans pay a tidy sum to fill up their cars. This as Americans battle high pump prices. The price of a gallon of gas for US consumers has been hovering around $3.76. Which is down from a record of over $5 back in June, but it's still higher than a year ago. Biden also said oil and gas companies should invest their profits into lowering costs for Americans and increasing production. If they do not, he urged Congress to consider requiring oil companies to pay tax penalties and to face other restrictions. Biden also said their profits are a windfall of the Ukraine war, and they have a responsibility to act.
Time of war, any company receiving historic windfall profits like this has a responsibility to act beyond their narrow self-interest of its executives and shareholders. I think they have a responsibility to act in the interest of their consumers, their community, and their country. To invest in America by increasing production and refining capacity, because they don't want to do that. They have the opportunity to do that. Lowering prices for consumers at the pump. You know, if they don't, they're going to pay a higher tax on their excess profits and face other restrictions. Give me a break. Enough is enough. Look, I'm a capitalist. You've heard me say this before. I have no problem with corporations turning a fair profit or getting a return on their investment in innovation. But this is remotely what's happening. Oil companies' record profits today are not because they're doing something new or innovative. Their profits are a windfall of war.
Global energy giants, including ExxonMobil and Chevron, posted another round of huge quarterly profits, benefiting from surging natural gas and fuel prices that have boosted inflation around the world and led to fresh calls to further tax the sector. Whether Democrats or Republicans take control of Congress, passing a law taxing energy companies for excess profits would likely be difficult. Reports say any new proposed taxes on the businesses could run into opposition in Congress. The White House for months has been considering congressional proposals that could tax oil and gas giants. Biden is trying to reduce costs for American consumers, even as voters worry about inflation ahead of the November 8th midterm elections. Well, for more on this, we're joined by Matthew L. Ward. He's an energy expert and former policy analyst and communications advisor at the Nuclear Energy Institute from Washington, D.C. Well, look, thanks very much for joining us on the show today. I wanted to start off by asking you your assessment of what we've seen in terms of profits from the gas companies and your response to what President Biden is proposing.
Well, President Biden is 8 days before our midterm elections. He's not up for re-election this year, but the Congress is. And the Republicans are running around shouting that gas prices are too high and it's Biden's fault. This is a response to that. If we had an excess profits tax, it would have to be approved by the Congress, and the Congress is not in session right now. So at the moment, it's just political posturing. But he is correct. What's happening is American natural gas prices are up, partly because we're shipping natural gas to Europe in the form of LNG to make up for lost Russian imports. And with Russian oil and gas exports constrained, the world market for oil has gotten a little bit tighter, and it's pushed up gasoline prices, which are the subject of intense political sensitivity here in the United States.
Well, as you mentioned, the timing coming just before the midterms, potentially political posturing. But what other options does the president have? He obviously made the trip recently to Saudi Arabia. That didn't produce the lowering of gas prices as he was hoping. What other options could he potentially have up his sleeve?
Presidents don't control the price of energy, although the party out of power routinely claims that they do. If the president somehow forced oil companies into more production or more refining capacity, that would not be quick either. That's not a short-term possibility. You have to have a very strong stomach right now to go out and drill for oil or improve your refining capacity. The future demand for oil for gasoline is unclear, especially if we shift over towards electric cars. There's also, you've heard of war risk, there's a peace risk. If a year from now the war in Ukraine is not going on, maybe Putin won't be in power, who knows. If all that Russian production comes back on the market, the price of oil will sink. So there are no short-term solutions, and there are good reasons why the oil companies will continue to invest in new production, new refining, but they'll be measured in the way that they do it. And the answer is no, Biden doesn't have a lot of options other than posturing, which is what he's doing now.
Well, thank you very much for your time. That was energy expert Matthew L. Wald joining us on today's programme. Thank you.
Thank you.